I actually think we're good now.
There's a lot I can't tell you, though. Yeah, I know that's upset you in the past. Yeah. So you felt it was because of some lack of trust or confidence. But it's because I admire you and I love you that I kept things secret from you. That's why at this moment you're the only one I can completely trust. Fredo, he's got a good heart. But he's weak and he's stupid. And this is life and death. Tom, you're my brother.
I always wanted to be thought of as a brother by you.
The great Robert Duvall. What a scene. Powerful scene. There are so many scenes, and rest in peace, Robert Duvall, best known for his work in The Godfather, but he was just a brilliant actor in so many facets of acting. And we lost him at the age of 95 a couple of days back to natural causes. Now, interestingly enough, a shout out to my friend Bobby, one of my dearest friends, oldest friends. And we were such Godfather enthusiasts that remember the old VCR tapes? Well, in the late 80s, I, on two 90-minute cassettes, took my multi directional cassette deck, put the movie on in my living room, recorded it in its entirety. And Bobby, myself, and our friend at the time, Ira, drove to Atlantic City and we listened to the whole movie. Yeah. We were such Godfather enthusiasts that those of you who watch The Godfather will know what I'm talking about. Bob's father passed away probably closer to 20 years ago now than 10. And we were sitting in the front group of folding chairs at the cemetery where the plot was. And the priest walked over and was going to start his soliloquy on the death. I was sitting next to Bob, and I looked at Bob, leaned over and said, "Do you know how they're going to come at you?" Just like the movie. He started laughing, and the priest and everyone looked at us like we were crazy. That's how important that movie was to us. And that's how important Robert Duvall was to not only us, but to anyone. And every guy knows The Godfather. He was a filmmaker, producer. His career spanned 7 decades. He received an Academy Award, a BAFTA, 4 Golden Globes, 2 Primetime Emmys, a Satellite, a Screen Actors Guild Award. And he was really, at his death, one of the last surviving stars from the golden age of Hollywood. He started in minor roles in the 60s, The Defenders, Playhouse 90. He made his Broadway debut in a play entitled Wait Until Dark in 1966. He went back to the stage in 1977 to play in David Mamet's American Buffalo. That is a play that Al Pacino did probably 10 years before on Broadway, and he won a Drama Desk Award for Outstanding Actor in a Play nomination. He played Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird. That was his film debut in 1962 with Gregory Peck. He was Captain Newman, M.D. in Bullet. He was in True Grit, MASH, Joe Kidd, and he was just brilliant. He played an alcoholic country star in 1983 in Tender Mercies, in which he won the Academy Award for Best Actor. He was also nominated for The Godfather in 1972, Apocalypse Now in 79, The Great Santini, which many people view as his best movie, even over The Godfather. The Apostle, The Judge, very good movie, The Judge, I recommend it. A Civil Action, The Conversation, Godfather Part 2, True Confessions with Robert De Niro in 81, great movie. Network. You see where I'm going with this. Crazy Heart, amazing. And he starred in so many television productions. He won the lead actor in a limited series, Broken Trail, in 2006 for AMC. Lonesome Dove in 1989. HBO film Stalin in 92. The Man Who Captured Eichmann in 96. So what about him? Well, he was born on January 5th in San Diego, 1931. Mildred Virginia Duvall, her maiden name Hart. She was an amateur actress, and his father, William Howard Duvall, a rear admiral in the United States Navy. He had two brothers, an elder brother and a younger brother. His younger brother became a big entertainment lawyer. And his father descended from the early Maryland settler, Maureen Duvall. He was raised in Christian Science religion, but didn't practice it. He didn't attend church, really. And he spent most of his childhood in Annapolis, Maryland. His father was stationed there with the Naval Academy. He attended Seven School in Savannah Park, Maryland. The Principia might have been St. Louis, Missouri School. And then he graduated with a bachelor in drama from Principia, I think it was, college in Elsa, Illinois, back in the early 50s. Now, his father wanted him to attend the Naval Academy like he did. But Duvall said he was terrible at everything but acting. He could barely get through school. He served in the United States Army after the Korean War. He was there for a year, almost exactly a year. Left as a private first class. And there was some confusion in the press about that. He explained that in an interview in the early 80s. Some articles had him shooting it out with the commies from a foxhole in Pork Chop Hill. That's what he said. He barely qualified for M1 rifle in basic training. He was stationed at Camp Gordon in Georgia. Started attending the neighborhood Playhouse School of Theater in New York City in the winter of 55. Sanford Meisner was the instructor, and on the GI Bill, he attended. Now, his classmates were Gene Hackman and James Caan. He worked as a Manhattan post office clerk, and he remained very close friends until the day he died with Dustin Hoffman and Hackman, who had died last year, because they were struggling actors, all of them together. In fact, Duvall roomed with Hoffman in New York City while they studied at the Playhouse. And I believe Hackman also hung out, and he was a clerk at Macy's, Herald Square. Drove a truck as well, Hackman. So with all of his great accolades, where does that leave him in acting lore? Well, he became really a presence in the beginning of the 70s. He got a lot of attention for playing the character Frank Burns in the film MASH. But the critical success came as Tom Hagen in The Godfather 2. Michael Corleone, Sonny Corleone, Fredo Corleone, and Connie Corleone's adopted brother. Never officially adopted because supposedly Vito Corleone thought it would be a disservice to his real father if he took his name. So he kept his name Hagen. If you go by the Godfather books, he was about 12 or 13. A friend on the street had a terrible eye infection. Sonny brought him home, and the rest was history. Saw something in him. The father put him through school and all that, became the consigliere and a very important part. And more than a stepbrother, he was a real brother to them. So he became a top character actor by the mid-70s. I remember a movie, The Killer Elite, around 1975 with him and James Caan, where they were playing two assassins who were on a job, and Duvall turned on him, shot him in the knee and the elbow and said, "You're retired," when Caan was in the shower. He didn't kill him because he was his friend. By the mid-70s, people described him as Hollywood's number 1 and number 2 lead. He was that good. He was really good. One of his greatest roles was that in Apocalypse Now, where he said, "You smell that? Do you smell the napalm, son? Nothing else in the world smells like that. I love the smell of napalm in the morning." And many people refer to him when they refer to that line. The critically acclaimed Network in 1976, The Great Santini, in which he received the Best Actor nomination. So he was tremendous. Now, in 1990, he declined the role in Godfather Part 3. He was supposed to reprise the role of Tom Hagen, but he wanted a salary comparable to Al Pacino's, and it wasn't accepted. Now, he told 60 Minutes in 2004, if they had paid me, if they paid Pacino twice what they paid me, even 3 times, that would have been okay, but not 4 or 5 times. And definitely the movie was a different movie because Tom Hagen didn't have a part in it. But he maintained a busy schedule through the 90s, almost 4 films a year for a while. The Apostle, which he played an evangelical preacher, Euless Sonny Dewey, and he wrote and directed a movie, A Civil Action, in 1998. And that was a tremendous movie. He directed Assassination Tango. He had a long-standing interest in the tango, loved to dance. And he did that movie because of that. So he was just a brilliant actor. Now, he'd been married 4 times, didn't have any children, and he said he was shooting blanks. He said in a 2007 interview. But he has tried with a lot of women. He also said that, in and out of marriage. He met Barbara Benjamin, his first wife, a former announcer and dancer on the Jackie Gleason show during the filming of To Kill a Mockingbird in 1962. He also appeared in Guys and Dolls in 1955, The Courtship of Eddie's Father in 1963, under the name Barbara Brent. Actually, she appeared in that, not him. Did I say Tom Hagen? No. Hagen's Duvall did not play Barbara. Back then, it wasn't in that kind of thing. But he was great. He was great. And it's a real loss. Now, his political views, he was a libertarian conservative. He was personally invited to Republican President George Bush's inauguration in 2001. He supported Giuliani in 2007 and in the primaries 2008. He worked at the GOP's 2008 National Convention. He had the Robert Duvall Children's Fund to assist families in northern Argentina through the renovation of homes and schools. His last wife was Argentinian. he really was a working man's actor. And he died on his farm in Middleburg, Virginia. So we look at him. We look at his life. Okay, Ira. Oh, thank you. Unapologetic options. Took a couple of seconds for me to read it. Thank you so much. That is very nice. Hi, Frank. Hope you're feeling well. That's very nice of you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And you're more classy for saying it, because if you see, not on my channel, I'm blessed with my chat, but if you look at other channels, thank you, sir. If you are, in fact, a gentleman. And if you are a woman, thank you, ma'am. So, and look, I'm a now guy. If you call yourself a bread box, God bless you. So, Robert Duvall, tremendous actor. It really gets to you when a real important movie that you revere and that you've always remembered. I mean, I've probably seen it 150 times. I'm being serious. When that dies, when the actor dies, part of the movie dies. To me, it's much like when one of your family dies, part of your family dies. Your family is not that mechanism that it once was. It's a car with a balding tire on it. It's air conditioning where one of the vents don't work in the car. One of your cylinders don't fire properly. It's not the same. Hi, Craig. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in. It's not the same when you lose someone. When you lose, I know, and I'm not trivializing it. Look, I'm not putting it to real life. I'm just saying my best way of explaining it is that when you lose a star that depicts your childhood, because you remember watching the movie in your childhood and loving it, part of that mosaic on your wall, and I talk about that when we get older. I'm in my master bedroom here. It's probably, I don't know, 20 by 25 or something. I'm looking at the wall. I'm facing the wall. And picture a mosaic, a big puzzle. Everything of my life for 64 years. Girlfriends, names, places, this, that, and the other thing. And as pictures, the puzzle pieces start falling, you can make it out and say, oh, no, I know that's who that is, you know. And then eventually you lose so many pieces, and then you forget, like, what was there? You ever go through an old neighborhood and you see a new building, you know it's a new building, but what was there before? Oh, yeah, the Carvel. Well, that's what happens when you lose people out of your life. And you lose the arts, because art imitates life for you. It gets you through the tough times, music and art. Why do you think movies are so big? It gets you to a place where you don't, go to buy 6 foot worth of rope at Home Depot half the time. And another legend and another part of my youth gone. Now, when a part of your youth goes, what does that mean in general terms? You're getting older. So you have to face your own mortality along with the mortality of someone who just had their life taken from them, even at the ripe old age of 95. Remember that old saying, oh, I'll sign on for that today. Well, you wouldn't sign on for that today if you were very, very ill the final 35 years of your life, right? Well, it appears that he's healthy, but look at the action stars in the last couple of years that have left us. And I'm just thinking of two right now, Gene Hackman and the great Robert Duvall. Popeye Doyle, who doesn't remember that? It's like you sit there and you say, Popeye Doyle's dead? Tom Hagen's gone? Right? It's not the same when you watch the movie now if you put it on today. And that's what happens. It happens to our rock stars, our favorite stars that we love. right? You know you're getting older when your favorite rock band from the 60s has had 3 lead singers in it because one died and the 2 are too old to sing. Then you know you're getting older. Well, when Robert Duvall died, and it wasn't made, they didn't do a Bella Fagora, as you would say in Italian, as if, God forbid, Al Pacino or Robert De Niro or one of the big in your face actors. Because I think he was always, I don't think he was looked at as a second tier actor. I think he had a second tier ego, notwithstanding not wanting to take 20% of what Al Pacino was making in Godfather 3. Now, I've spoken, I know some actors and actresses. I had spoken to some people through the years. I'm not talking about lately. I'm talking about 20 years ago. There was supposed to be another Godfather movie in 79. So they went one better in 1990. They made it 1979 in the movie. But it was supposed to be Michael Corleone and Tom Hagen wrestle for the family, control the family. And that brings an interesting, discussion. Who would have won? Pacino was very street smart. And I'll tell you how I know Pacino was street smart. Oh, I love that. That was amazing, Craig. And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why, Craig, if you're interested, because I did a paper on this. Believe it or not, because I'm an idiot. I did a sociology paper. Let me tell you what happened. In 1979, I get to college. My first day, I think it was my first class, actually, ever in college. I enter an auditorium where this sociology professor had 3 of his classes that he teaches in the class, in the auditorium. He puts on a movie, right? So I said, Midnight Cowboy was the movie. And I said, this is college? Woo! That didn't last too long, but I wrote down the line. We had to write first about Midnight Cowboy. Then we could pick whatever we wanted to write about. But we had to ask him, is this movie okay? And he had to okay it. I guess he had to have seen it and had enough of a sociological slant. Hi, Denise. So, first of all, he wasn't the wartime consigliere, and I'll give you right away. He missed them trying to hit Vito, and he missed them hitting Sonny. Think about it. On his watch, Vito was almost assassinated, and Sonny was. He was the consigliere from the wedding night on of Connie, because the unabridged script was that after the wedding, they went and visited Jenko in the hospital, who died. And Tom became the official consigliere of the family. Papa Jenko, look what I got. God damn it, if I had a wartime consigliere, I wouldn't be in this shit. Papa Jenko, look what I got. Look, Mom cooked. Come on. So, yeah, Craig, I'm nuts. I have papers to prove it. So yeah, he missed that. He definitely missed them going after Sonny. So he was not a wartime consigliere. So right there, if you pit him against Michael, first of all, he was an attorney. Michael was going to go. The father wanted to be a senator. He had gone in the Marines. So Michael was very bright. But was Tom tactical? Tom missed the 2 proposed hits. It was also, you can't tell me that Tom did not know that Talia Shire's part Connie, that her husband wasn't involved in Sonny. They all would have known that Sonny gave him a beat down in front of his bookmakers' friends. They knew he was unhappy. The father knew he was beating up his daughter, but that day they stayed out of it. Even in The Sopranos, if you see Richie Aprile said, you put your hands on her, you won't see me coming. You give her your name, you do what you want. That was the Italian mentality. It's terrible, but that's what it was. The father knew that Carlo was hitting his daughter and stayed out of it. You mean to tell me that Michael, as smart as he was, didn't know that Carlo was responsible? That wouldn't have got back to him, right? How could that not have come back to him? That's an impossibility. Being as sharp as Michael was, and would you allow for probably 6, 7 years? I think the war, Michael took out the bosses in 54. In 58, at the Communion is where that Godfather 2 movie starts. It had been 4 years since the war where he took out all the leaders. Sonny got killed in 46 or 47. So Carlo was around 7 years. You mean to tell me that Michael, who killed his brother, and his brother he knew probably didn't know it was a hit, he'd let Carlo stay around for 7 years next to him? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Not when your enemy just tried to kill you. Kill your father, and right? Because it was never talked about if Carlo had any part or knew DeVito was going to get hit. Right? So, yeah, Craig, Tom missed both of those plays. He wasn't a wartime consigliere. So in 1979, if they had gone back, and at that point, Michael was 58 years of age, Tom was probably about 62, would Tom have beat him? In the real world, no. Tom wasn't made. In fact, all the families used to joke around about the Corleone family because he was German-Irish, that they were the United Nations of the mafia. So he wouldn't have got the okay. I don't think he would have had the okay to go after Michael. Michael still had Al Neri around. I really doubt if Al Neri would have sided with Tom, and Al Neri was Michael's Luca Brasi, just smarter. So Michael was more tactical, and I think he would have won in a war with Tom. But there were things that didn't make sense. Tom was really upset that Michael was going to kill Fredo. And that's why they supposedly are at odds. Because you have to remember something. When you see him sitting in the chair after The Godfather 2, that's supposed to be around 1968. That's about 7 or 8 years later. You notice he's a little gray when he's sitting there pondering when they go to the credits, the end of the movie. That's like 8 or 9 years later. He's lost everybody. The kids aren't there anymore. He's sitting alone in the yard. But that's not right after that movie. That's years later. So, but Tom said in Godfather 2, why do you try to hurt me? Now, between the lines, if you read the other books associated with The Godfather, Tom Hagen was having an affair with Sonny's widow. I bet you didn't know that. And if you did, you'll say, oh, yeah, maybe. That's what Michael didn't approve of. It's never addressed in the movies. Evidently, Robert Duvall was fooling around with Sonny's widow. And that's why Michael was angry at him. Because you can see Michael was angry at Tom. And that was why. And you could see that time would have passed and he broke away. We know that he got offered to head up a hotel to be a director. There are a couple of different books that aren't attached. They just they did some books. I'll tell you which ones they are. They alluded that Fredo was bisexual. Yeah, Fredo evidently was bisexual. There was let's see which ones there were. Weingartner made one, wrote one. Let's see. There were a couple of different books, and they alluded to one. Alluded 59 from Queen Street. I'm in Queens. I'm in Regal Park. Originally from Brooklyn. But yeah, evidently Fredo was bisexual. I think Tom Hagen killed someone who was going to come out and say it. He got his hands dirty. A lot of stuff. A lot of good stuff. Oh, Whitestone. Whitestone's nice. Very nice. But, you know, Tom Hagen wasn't a wartime consigliere. He was a great businessman. I always had, tell me what you think, Craig. I'm curious what you would think of this. This would be if I had to take over a family, like say right now, if someone said, you got to take over a family, I would get myself 3 or 4 guys, a great Russian chess player, a great Hispanic, a couple of different ethnicities that are fairly street tough. Chess players see 5, 6 moves ahead. If you're a street guy and you're a great chess player, don't you think that's interesting? I would do that. See, that's what Michael was good at. Anticipation. Tom was not. Tom didn't see Vito getting hit. Okay, give him a pass for that one because it was quiet for 10 years since the last war. But many people don't know either that Emilio Barzini was the one who tried to kill Vito 10 years before. Barzini was a hitman and set up his own boss to take over the family. Barzini failed at killing Vito. It's interesting. Now, if you know The Godfather, Vito, when he calls a meeting, it's probably 8 or 9 months later, of the 5 families. He wants to meet with all to get Michael back. Barzini's sitting at the head of the table. Okay, Frank. Barzini's at the head of the table. Barzini's now the boss of all bosses, not Don Corleone. But Don Corleone went there. And I'll show you another thing you missed. Don Corleone went there, wanted to get Michael home, but he wanted to see who the traitor was. He wanted to see who was behind this hit because he knew Bruno Tattaglia was a pimp. He knew Tattaglia didn't have the wherewithal to do something like that. And Barzini was in the top seat. If Tattaglia made the move on him, Tattaglia would have been at the front seat. So as soon as Vito sees Barzini heading the meeting, Barzini's the boss. That's what he wanted to find out. Now, after, let's say Tom Hagen had no reason to believe that they were going to go after Vito. In the car, he said, run the records of the phones of Barzini. And Tom says, no, you mean Tattaglia. And he goes, no, Tattaglia could have never outfought Santino. Tattaglia was a pimp. It was Barzini all along. So Hagen missed that too. After the meeting, he thought it was Tattaglia in the car that set up the family. And as sick as Don Vito was, he said, no, no, no. It was Barzini all along. So he missed that too. Think about it. That's not a wartime consigliere. You want street, actually, yeah. Absolutely. I learned a long time ago, Craig. And I lived in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. I was out in the street, never a star, but the guy that shows up with the 10-year-old car in the parking lot's the most powerful guy. Because first of all, that guy wouldn't be involved in a meeting, an upper echelon meeting. And if you have 100 important people in the room, nobody's really important. Right? But guys that sit back and wait, as Michael says, I'll wait. The hardest thing to do, people used to ask me all the I had a social club. Craig, if you read Ridgewood, New York, social club in my name, I got busted in 2011. I had a social club. And I dealt with a lot of people. You'd be surprised. The guys that are wearing the pinky rings and the Rolexes, they have a hard time making their car payment because their car's a $800 BMW because they want to show off. Power is a funny thing. I'll always remember my friend Dom Crea, dear friend, told me that his pop told him, I believe, that a 90-year-old, a 90-pound weakling could pull a trigger. That always stuck with me. It's one of the first things Dom ever told me. When we were talking about things. But the most realistic was Donnie Brasco. I can't tell you how many people around Christmas time came into my social club. Razors, box of razors from CVS. The best thing I ever got in there, honestly, I got a case of Amarone wine. We paid $240 for it. It should have been about $500. 12 bottles came in the case. I split it 6 and 6 with my partner. And I have to tell you, that red Amarone was the best wine I ever had. Best thing I ever did. Never bought, I don't think I've ever bought a thing in there other than when the case of wine came in. But so I do know how to think a little bit like these guys. Not a lot. I wasn't a gangster. But I will tell you that there are things that the Sopranos have that runs along the lines of The Godfather. First of all, The Godfather, the way they portray Michael never would have let Carlo live. There's no way. My first feeling was when they go to 1958, as soon as the movie starts at the Communion in Tahoe. I went by that house. That's on the California side of Lake Tahoe. I was about 150 feet. They had a boat ride that took you out there, and I saw it. It was nice. There are a lot of things. Michael Corleone would have never let Carlo Rizzi live for 7 years. The second thing was, I go over this because I like strategy. Remember in Godfather 3, push 1 if you remember this, where Michael's giving out all the checks to the bosses at the casino where the hit is? Press 1 if you remember that. Because I'll tell you what my feeling is on that. And I would challenge anyone. So while I wait for your 1, I'll look at how my sports bet's doing. I bet I bet Sweden. No one wants to know unless you're really delayed. Sweden 4-1. You won. Okay, Craig. Do you remember when he's passing all the envelopes around? And they say, how much, Joe? I don't even remember how much I gave. He went partners, right? In 1954, first of all, when Michael hit all the families, the heads of the 5 families, it wasn't all Michael's idea. His father. The reason why they cut it out of the movie because they didn't want to undermine Michael. If they would have if they undermined Michael, you don't think he's that smart. You think it's his father. The father knew that their key was getting rid of Michael as soon as Vito died. But Vito was very involved in that. And I'll show you why. This is very key. First of all, if Michael got rid of all these bosses, don't you think there will be a war? You think they're just going to let him do it? No. What I believe happened was Michael in 54 was starting to make his move in Vegas, Tahoe. I believe after hitting all these bosses, he went to what was remaining and said, look, we can either go to war and lose everything, which happened 8 years ago when my father was hit, and for a year no one made money, or this casino thing that I'm doing, I'll put you all in on it, and that will broker the peace. That's my olive branch to you guys. I will make all of you new guys who were held back from the old timers rich. Mark my words, that's what happened there. Now, they deleted this scene. Vito Corleone was very instrumental in hitting those heads. That wasn't only Michael's idea. And I'll show you. When he says we have plenty of time to talk about it. Listen.
Tomatoes, peppers, onions, egg.
I'm just going to tell you this. This was the scene where after they walk out of this, you find them in the courtyard sitting where he says, I always wanted Senator Corleone governor. This is the scene before that. When you see Michael answer and Vito smile, Vito knows he's ready to be the boss of the family.
What about Sonny? What about Cicely?
I swore that I would never break the peace.
But won't they take that as a sign of weakness?
It is a sign of weakness.
Now watch.
You gave your word that you wouldn't break the peace. I didn't give mine.
Watch the smile.
You don't have to have any part in it.
You know it's
I take all responsibility.
Watch.
We have a lot of time to talk about it now.
A lot of time to talk about it. Plan it. That's what he did. He was very instrumental in planning the hits on the 5 families. The reason why they took that scene out of there, I don't think they wanted you to know. It weakens Michael as this genius that they wanted to portray him as. But his father, think about it. His father, out of bed, when Tom Hagen got him out of bed, to have the meeting for the 5 families. This way he can get Michael back safely and to find out who the traitor was. In the car, Tom says, "You mean Tatalia?" And he said, "No, I know it was Barzini all along." So Tom Hagen in that meeting didn't even realize what an older Vito realized, that it was never Tatalia. I could have told you that walking in there. Tatalia would have been at the front of the meeting. If Tatalia had all the backing, no, Barzini is the guy. Soon as Vito walked in there and saw Barzini at the head of the table, he knew it was Barzini. And you could see Tatalia every time he'd talk, he'd look at Barzini like for his approval. So that's what it was. I used to be asked a lot, make a decision. How come you're not making a decision? I am making a decision. I'm sitting on my hands. That's a decision. My decision is to do nothing. You got to do something. Make a decision. I am. I'm not doing anything. That's my decision. Because information is the greatest strength. It's better than money. It's better than power. If you could just wait out, I'll give you a perfect example. If I give Craig my number and Craig and I become friends and I call Craig in 2 months, "Oh my God, you won't believe what happened, Craig." "What?" "You know what? Forget it. I'll tell you tomorrow." Craig says, No, why? What did you call me for?" Now you got me thinking. We all need it today. We need the answer yesterday. None of us could ever just sit and wait. That's why you go to a sit down, someone owes you money. I'll never forget. I went once, someone owed me $18,000. I brought someone down with me because they brought someone down with them. I said to the guy with me, "What do you think? 10, 12?" He said, "Well, we'll see." I'm lucky because I was very close to the person that was with me. I don't got to kick back anything. So I really want to say something when the guy starts talking. Like, "Well, we'll take this." He gave 14. I would have said, "Well, can you come up with 8? If I would have opened my mouth, I would have lost $6,000. I learned from that a fish with its mouth closed can never get hooked. Remember that. I can't use anything against you if you don't give me anything. So I just sit and listen. And I can use everything you've told me against you. Because you will slip up. You definitely will slip up. Because it's human nature. We either don't share enough or share too much. When we're nervous, we generally share too much. Because we want to hammer home the point, hoping they buy it. Thus protest too much. When you keep on telling your wife, "I'd never cheat on you," that's because you've cheated on her. You wouldn't have to say it. You walk around all day saying, "I love this job. I love this job. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you." No. If you keep on saying it, there's a reason. I was always one. No, I wasn't always one. I learned it. To let everybody play in the sandbox, fight over the toy, and then when they're exhausted, I walk over, pick it up, no sand on me. "Thanks, guys." You let them all do the work for you. Working smart. Frank knows. Now, Frank, I know Frank. We're friends. Frank, in his day, still mentally now more because of physical ailments, Frank was a legitimate tough guy. But a smart tough guy. But a legitimate tough guy. Like, Frank could have 2 bodyguards but he was more capable with his hands than they were. And he'd handle his own crap. I learned a long time ago, whether it's in school. I'll give you an example. I was a stockbroker, Craig. And I tried to get through the gatekeeper, which was the secretary. They call the gatekeeper is the one that you have to get through to get an appointment with the guy. I saw the guy wore Bruno Magli shoes. I wanted this job. Oh my God, did I want this job? In fact, this was my ID in England. I used to take people to the Gloucester Sporting Club. That was 1991. I worked there. It was right near Victoria Road. Remember Gloucester Sporting Club in England? I used to take clients there. I worked there 18 months. So what happened was, no, I know I am, Frank. I know I'm right about you, man. I found out what kind of shoes he wore. And the secretary said too much. You know what she said to me? I brought her a box of Whitman Sampler chocolate. Remember, it was $21. She said, oh, he's always, there was no internet back then, really. He said he's always getting the magazines and the brochures for the latest Bruno Magli shoes. I went to Saks Fifth Avenue. And I said, how do I find out about this? Schmooze the girl, give her a $20 bill. When I went for the interview, 3 months, I ordered them from England. They went from Italy to England to here. England got them like 5 months before. I showed up at the interview, Magli, yeah, with a box of Bruno Magli's. And I said, it's not out yet. You can't get it in America yet. Oh my God, how did you get it? He goes, how did you get one? Did you take it? Was it? I said, no. I said, I have the other in my briefcase. And if I get the job, you get the other one. I had his size and everything. I got the job. That's using my head. Not fudging my resume. Not making believe I know CPR. Having the information of what was important to him and what could I move on that he doesn't have time to make the move. And I got the job. It cost me a few dollars, but I was making 25% more than any other job I would have made. So the whole investment of about $500 with tipping people, $320 for the shoes, whatever it was, well worth it. Information is where it's at. Right? If you're going to bet a football game, college game on a Saturday, and I find out that they were working on the kid's hand the night before, and if he has any pain, they're going to let him go in for 1 or 2 plays, any pain to pull him. If I have that information and you don't, that's powerful. And Frank knows because I'm not saying I'm a smart man. I'm saying that I've learned from a lot. There's my English, learnt. In Britain, they say learnt, L-E-A-R-N-T, not learned. There's some words that they use differently, context. I think information is much more important than muscle, even. I'll give you a perfect example. Frank would understand this, and I'm sure Craig would. Craig's in Queens. If I know they're sitting on my house in the front, I'm good. How about if they send the guy to the back door? And I've been sneaking out the back for a week. And now I get caught because I didn't have that information. Franklin, how are you? I don't know if I can translate. Maybe I could translate this. Translate buenas tardes, saludos cordiales, beneficiano para todos. Necesito saber si existe un banco llamado. I don't know what that means. I wish I did. But Franklin, thank you for coming in. Oh, you're in Dubai? But yeah, information. And another thing that I learned, knowing what you don't know, Craig, much more important than knowing what you do know. Oh, absolutely. You want Craig up? Craig, hit me up on my email. I'm going to put it up here now. We'll talk. I'm in your neighborhood pretty much. Absolutely. We'll meet for coffee. I'd love to. I like to go to, what's it, Cherry Valley over there? The sandwich place? That's my email, Craig. What's it, Cherry Valley? They have like 3,000 sandwiches. I used to go there. I did a place called, I did karaoke and DJ'd at a bar over there. It closed about 7 years ago, the bar. I forget what it was called. The sports club, the sports room, the sports page, whatever the hell it was. Oh, 14th Avenue. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd love to meet you. Hit me up. But yeah, it is so important. Information. Information. That's better than muscle. First of all, you don't need muscle anymore. No one's taking a chance of going away for 30 years because you owed them 10,000. Yes, Cherry Valley. Yeah. Yeah, I forget the name of the place I did. There was a bar over there, a sports bar. Closed about 7 years ago. I did karaoke and DJ there once in a while. In fact, the owner's name was James. Well, he was the owner's son. Yeah, maybe. And the owner, James, was a great golfer. He was in his 30s, late 30s probably, early 40s back then. And he semi-pro. He played college golf, and he gave me a set of golf clubs. They relocated to North Carolina, I think. Very nice people. Very nice people. I enjoyed it. But yeah, information's, and now Tom Hagen. Jimmy, oh, is that what? Yeah, James, right? He was a tall guy. James was very badly diabetic. Was he? Which one? The kid? Because James was probably late 30s, right? Great golfer. He was also very diabetic. He had been in the hospital a few times. Really? I didn't know that. Great golfer. See? You were meant to come in here. Yeah, good, nice guy. Nice guy. I didn't know that, though. Farouk, huh? As my father would say, manga bogats. So, yeah, they relocated. The whole family relocated. Yeah, there were a couple of other guys that went down there. I didn't know them well. The woman, the owner, wasn't the easiest woman I remember, but she was fair. She was fair. But James had a set of clubs. Yeah, he was a tall guy, right? He was like 6'2", but he was very badly diabetic. And they relocated. Now, I like that bar. It was a nice bar. But I don't remember. Oh, wait, the 7-Eleven was right next door, right? I used to park my car in there, in that lot. Yeah, the 7-Eleven was right next door to it. Yeah, I used to park my car in there. I used to ask him, I tipped the guy like $10 the kid, and he'd let me keep my car there. Yeah, I definitely remember it. Sure. I used to park my car. You couldn't find parking there. It was terrible. But they let me. And I'd buy stuff in there. But I liked that bar. I had a good time, and they were very fair. Like one night, there was a bad storm, and there was nobody there. and she paid me the whole $250. I was supposed to get $250 for 4 hours, and she paid me the whole thing. Very nice people. Very nice. Yeah, they used to have a lot of bridal showers and shit in the back there. Someone was a very good cook over there. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was the mother. Someone cooked really well over there. But there were some nice people over there. Yeah, you're right, Craig. But Craig, you definitely have to email me. I'll meet you. Yeah, we'll go over and have coffee. We'll go to Cherry Valley. Kevin Guilford. Tony. There was a shorts. Was there a fireman there? A guy that was a fireman with a mustache, a thick mustache. I like that place. They were very fair with me. That always happens when I'm doing a show. I like to talk to the crowd. So I'm sorry I got off Duvall. But yeah, Robert Duvall will be missed. He hasn't been doing anything. Oh, okay. That makes sense then. Yeah, but there was this big, heavy mustached fireman, probably in the 60s. But they were nice. Yeah, they were all very nice. Very nice there. I like Whitestone. Oh, God bless you, Craig. And I'm so glad you came in here. I love meeting people in here. I have so many friends from here. I've had this channel like 4 or 5 years. And I don't know what people are thinking because I just hit 7,500 subscribers. I don't get 1 million views. Oh, believe it or not, I have 3 million views in 4 years. But my shorts get 5,000 views a day. I put music shorts up. But I guess I'm the kind of guy that I'm not everybody's taste. I'm not interesting enough. But you know what they say? This poor bastard's trying. I'll give him a sub. And they subscribe to me. That's what I really believe. I believe they think, I don't really give a shit what he says, but he's trying. I'll give him a sub. I believe that. That's what I think. But I've met so many good people through here. And thanks, Craig. And now you are a new friend of mine. I'm so happy you're here. So yeah, Robert Duvall, he played an assassin in that movie Tango. And he goes for one last job, I think, which is a rough job. He's not sure if he's going to get out. He goes to an island, I think. But there's something about Robert Duvall. Like, I made a list. And I always wondered what the difference was. Well, I know what the difference is between a supporting actor and a leading man, like Al Pacino. Very hard for Al Pacino to do back in the day. He was short, But I'll give you, to me, great secondary actors that aren't quite leading men. I don't know why they aren't. I'll give you some. I wrote them down. Ernest Borgnine, right? Italian, short, not good looking. Steve Buscemi, right? Very eclectic kind of guy. Buscemi, not quite as odd as Chris Walken or Christopher Lloyd, but very good. John Cassavetes became a great director and screenwriter, but he was like 5'4", 5'5". James Coburn, very versatile. You have to be versatile. Chuck Connors, Tim Curry. You have to be versatile in a way that a leading man isn't. There are guys that border on A-list. Now, I'll give you some that I think are not quite a leading man, but a better supporting actor than most. Michael Madsen. He was one of them. A rugged guy, brooding though. Very complex character. He couldn't carry a movie himself, but he's much more than a secondary character. John Malkovich. So many of them. So many of them. Joe Pesci. There are guys that just John Turturro, Jack Warden, guys like that are quite good. The End Zone, that was it. Yeah, I used to do the shows about 10 years ago. Were you ever there on a karaoke show? Yeah, The End Zone, that was it. In fact, right over there, across the street, there's a diner, right? A small diner. We could meet over there if you'd like. Have lunch. But, there are actors that, to me, are a little too good. And I think what happens is, like a baseball team. Yeah. I went there about 3 years ago. When you're a baseball team, once a guy is considered a bench player, never really breaks that mold. Very hard to break the mold of a bench player. There are only a couple of them I can think, like on the Mets. Justin Turner. Someone like that. Well, when you are an actor, very hard for you to go from supporting actor to lead actor and stay there. I'm not talking about when you're 18, 19 being a supporting actor. Like, Johnny Depp, 90210, and then becomes, I'm not talking about when you're 19, 20. But you have guys that they tried to push to be number one actors also. And that's usually you have a 7-year run as an actor. I got this from actors and actresses that I was friends with. 7-year run. If you remember, after Batman, they tried to make Tobey Maguire a big star. It didn't work. Jennifer Aniston took over for Julia Roberts with the rom-coms. Hugh Grant could be a lead actor for a rom-com, but not for a regular movie. Denzel Washington came from a medical show. But there are guys that make the leap. Kevin Spacey made the leap from an ensemble guy to lead man. You wouldn't think of Gene Hackman as a lead man, right? Like a leading man where the billboard, if he's in it, it's going to sell. Doesn't matter who. Back in the day, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, you just needed their name on the marquee and that was it. With Gene Hackman, does he have a universal appeal as much back in the day? Probably not. Nicholson. You put Jack's name on it, it's going to sell. He has a broad appeal of women and men. See, that's what you need as a movie star. You need the women and the men. Usually a supporting actor has one side. That's the difference. It'd be very hard for a guy like Christopher Walken to do a rom-com. He doesn't have those good looks and he's a little too odd. That's why it was hard for Pacino and De Niro. And they were very awkward at it also. I saw De Niro in a couple of them and Pacino in a couple of them. And very awkward. Very awkward. They have to actually be funny to pull it off. And then you have your guys that are good at it. I'll give you a guy that's excellent. I'll give you a guy that's a very underrated actor who has refused to do comedies now because he wanted to take it seriously. And also, now in his 50s, he knows that you're not going to do the rom-coms anymore. Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler's last two movies that he played a real drama role, outstanding. And I would have never believed it. Uncut Gems, he was in, brilliant. And then he was just in this movie with George Clooney that was on Netflix. And he was excellent. He's a very, very talented guy. I like Denzel. I like guys like that. Morgan Freeman, you wouldn't think of, right? Morgan Freeman, oh, does he get respect? But you wouldn't think of him as a leading man, right? And I think that's where he fell in, Robert Duvall. Not quite the billboard magnet to bring you in. Oh, that's the guy from The Godfather. That's what gets you in the door. Oh, that guy? And that was a tremendous part. Think about it. What was a bigger part to those two stories, character arc, than Tom Hagen? That was a tremendous character arc. So much so that they were going to make him go against Corleone for the Family in 79. His arc was amazing because you can go in any direction with him. See, certain character arcs, like if you look at The Sopranos, David Chase was very, very influenced by The Godfather, as everyone else was. Michael Imperiali's character arc was non-existent. Imperiali was made, but was the same exact guy in season 1 as he was the day he got killed. Drugs, hot-headed, big mouth, reckless. He never grew up, right? Gandolfini's character, Tony Soprano, changed. If you watch the first 8 episodes of season 1, he's more of one of the guys. Joking around. He's one of the guys. Until he becomes their boss. Then you're not one of the guys anymore. So his arc changed from very, very happy-go-lucky. Craig, I'll show you a picture. I was on Boardwalk Empire. I had a small role in 2 episodes. And I remember Buscemi telling me something very interesting about that role. This is me and Buscemi. This is when Brooklyn Navy Yard. This is inside the Navy Yard in the hangar. You see all the way in the back. I'll see if I can show it to you. That is the arch that they built. That's the arch. It's supposed to be on the boardwalk. They would green screen it. It was interesting. And one of my favorites is James Spader. Here's the guy that played the concierge, Johnny Chacha. I knew him pretty well. My friend owned Ferraras, and Johnny Chacha was right across the street. Here's me and Spader. So Terrence Winter told me he was the assistant director on The Sopranos and went on to do Boardwalk. And I was sitting with Buscemi, and Kraft used to cater all the food in Kraft services, and they were catering the food. We were waiting. He said the hardest part about writing The Sopranos, David Chase said, was every 3 episodes, he had to make sure that Tony did something terrible. Because Tony's not supposed to be loved. He's supposed to be a really bad guy. And just when you'd start loving him, he'd do something awful. No, not me, Danae. I'm not a movie star. Believe me, I'm not. I'm the furthest thing you could ever get from a movie star. I just always looked into meeting people. That was it. But he had to always make him be terrible every 3 or 4 episodes. James Spader is nice. Very nice guy. OCD. Very nice. And Spader was a problem. Not Spader. Jim Gandolfini was a problem because they had to work it in that he had to do something miserable because you couldn't like him. You're not supposed to like him. Who's that? Ego-driven. Spader? No. No, Spader was OCD. And when I was talking to him, after Boston Legal, he couldn't get a job. He couldn't understand it. He won Emmys and everything. What had happened was he became very OCD. And they'd have to, when they couldn't put a Sharpie through the script, they'd have to shred it. Everyone when he'd go eat, they had to turn the tray. He couldn't see a tray or a dirty tray. And he got the reputation of being very hard to deal with. But it wasn't that. It was he suffered. And he went on medication, and he went around to Ellen DeGeneres and Oprah and talked about mental illness. Well, Danae, I'm far from a star. Believe me. I thank you, but I'm not. But very nice guy, though. Good sax player. He was a partner in the Village Vanguard. Most people didn't know that. He owned 20% of it. So, but these guys all had arcs. Tony had a great arc. Tony went from being one of the guys to being a boss. In fact, Winter told me he came back from shooting. There was 1 year, 18 months between seasons. And he had lost weight. And Chase said, no, I don't want you losing weight. I want you to be a glutton. Yeah, he was whatever he was. Not very nice guy though. He's from Massachusetts. He came here like when he was 17 alone. He became very dark, and he wanted the glutton. He wanted him to just think everything was his. That's why they wanted him to get out of control with his weight, and they purposely put him on. If you notice, the last season or two, he'd always go on the scale and like kind of look. They wanted you to see that he had no control. OCD's right. I don't have OCD. I'm bipolar. And no, it must be very hard. I'm sure it is. Any mental illness. Look, life is hard if you don't deal with anything. You know what's interesting? Someone who has bipolar contacted me from one of my old shorts. They must have saw an old short. Probably wasn't pushed. Maybe someone was surfing my channel or something. And in fact, if you want to see a good clip, I'm going to share this with you. And they can't strike me because it's mine. You'll like this. I'll play this for a second for you. This you may actually like. And I was heavier here. I'm warning you. I was heavier here. but I thought you might be interested in this. So here we go. I'll give you a couple of minutes, okay? Enjoy it.
Good evening, Brooklyn guy, and this is a special night for me because I'm a big fan of this young man. And without further ado, Robert Finaro. How are you, Rob?
Great, Vinny. I like your promo. You got John Lennon, you got George Harrison.
And one of the greatest compliments he gave me.
If you see a jockey like Jose Ortiz
at the end,
it's a small track. It's very quick.
And we became friends. Go to eat, talk.
A really beautiful complex. I have to say, it's one of the most.
We became friends.
Rob,
in terms of the beauty of the track, I don't think there's anything like Churchill or Keeneland. I've been to both places. Keeneland is just brick, gray brick, but it's an interesting place too. It's a wonderful turf track.
Listen to this compliment.
So they're really great. These great places. Let's hope they keep them alive.
Have you been to Santa Anita?
Never been to LA track. No, I've been
nice
to Beverly Hills, but never to Santa Anita.
Santa Anita is great.
It's nice. It's hard to handicap for me, at least. I don't know about you.
Anything. So if you gave me a 2-horse race and one of them was Secretariat, I get it wrong, Rob. Rob, I can't thank you enough. I'm going to see you on the 9th for the Wood Memorial. Thank you so much for coming on. You really, really did me the honor because I followed your career and I think you're a wonderful actor and a better human being. Thank you,
Vinny. Thank you for the opportunity. And let me just say that this is one of the greatest interviews I ever did because I had no planning to do it. I have to say, I really got a lot of great stuff. I think.
Thank you.
We became really tight friends. He's a great guy. And he helped me with something that I was going through a couple of months ago. He really, just a really good man, Robert Finaro, and so talented. I wish he would have been in more episodes of The Sopranos. He's a highly talented actor. And that scene with his son and his wife, just frustrated about drug use, so real. So real. He's just so real. What a good guy. As you can tell, I like the guy. So, anyway, thank you so much for coming in. Danae, you are a movie star in my eyes. And Craig, I met a new friend, and Craig and I are going to get together. Craig, it's an honor. Thank you so much, my friend, for coming in here. See, there was a reason. We talked about Whitestone and all that. And all of you, I really appreciate your support. I truly do. It means a lot to me. God bless you guys. Check out the shorts later tonight, and I will see you soon. Good night.